Stumbling into tangled webs. So when last we left our group 2 weeks ago, thanks to work schedules and whatnot, a bunch of things happened, and kind of a bunch of things didn't happen. Notably, we were given an invitation, if you can call it that, to a place at a time. It was in Chelsea in the middle of the night. Also assaulted a poor parking lot attendant as he started to steal a van to go there, and among other places. I don't think a whole lot other notable happened. Just a lot of in-character conversation and interaction. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, character development. Because we are thespians.
I did listen to the episode, but it was like a week ago, so...
No, this is accurate.
So, without further ado, let us dive in. Where we had left off, we were returning to what has become recently Coterie HQ, which was Finn's place where he does business, or does the work for his business matters, to retrieve the rest of your coterie that did not go on the stealing command mission.
Yeah, we always need backup, which gives us a lovely time to have our getaway driver get us to where we're going and talk about a few things.
Do tell.
It has been years since they've actually needed each other, i.e. she's needed his services. And in those intervening years, each of them have found their way into various aspects of upwardly mobile kindred society. And during those few years, all those years ago, he really wasn't discerning as to whom he helped, or more specifically, why they needed his services. Over the years since, there's been quite a few dark nights of the soul and various states in between, where he's come to the realization that despite all of his outward judgments, despite all of his outward facades, that underneath it all there may be a care, there may be something bubbling up And so he's begun to question those halcyon days of yore and those he's helped. Yeah, there was an exchange of services, this for that. And yet there's still some niggling part of his mind that questions. So, Penny, what are the chances you think that this might be your absentee sire, or my relatively, I wish, absentee sire behind all of this mysterious this, that, and the other? It's that so to speak that always worries me. It didn't worry me then, but it kind of worries me now. You know, I've been reading, and I know you find that odd that I would actually be able to crack open a book, let alone understand anything inside. But I've been reading these guys, these old Greek pederists. They call themselves Stoics. And it set a few thoughts going. Not sure what they add up to just yet, but they're still bubbling back there. Your sire, why do you think that you were chosen? I know why I was chosen. Part of this, for me, is a punishment. I was very much like the Icarus getting too close to the sun, save it was the antithesis of what the sun might hold. Didn't stop me from getting burned, mind you, but here I am. So all malice due, but nothing aforehand specifically about you. I don't know nothing about nothing, but that sounds awfully familiar to a certain style of creating progeny. And you say you fought in the, or drove during, or existed during the battles of New York back in the day. What was that like? Who found you?
your status from being a second war veteran? It's rescuing somebody who had some quirks. So, because it has come up, we just refer to them as Joseph.
I know it's not easy for you to even consider talking about those bad old days. Got soldiers in my family on both sides. But just for my edification, because you know my sire was one of the few, I forgot what they called themselves back during the day, but they fought for the good guys, i.e. the winners of that whole thing. And they don't ever fail to remind me of that, even with all the issues going on within our particular branch of the family. There's no gentle way to ask it, and it's probably really silly for me to even have these thoughts, these bubbling concerns. And or did you fight for the good guys initially, or was that something that came later in your life? You know, I always like that about you, Roses. Do everything you can to not answer a question, but paint a picture. To let the imagination fill in those gaps and that absences. What is the artist called? That stuff is like you paint the edges and let the mind do the thing. When you're looking at the moon, you don't really see the whole moon, but your mind still fills it in. Yeah, exactly that. You guys do that absolutely great. That's a wonderful thing when you're not the victim of it. Forgive me for prying. Well, you know, tonight's not looking that great either. You pull around back, there's a place we can be off the street and hopefully minimize the opportunity of someone leaving a dirty note, a Dear John letter for us when we come out.
So as the van comes rolling up to a address that's probably becoming more conspicuous than it hoped.
Considerably.
You all being both of you, slide out of the van, I assume, and headed to retrieve the others.
When she turns off the van, I actually invade her personal space a little bit by resting my hand on her forearm and wrist. We've been fairly active. Give it a second. And you look out there. The neighbors don't use this space much. The kids smoke weed, but that's during the day. There shouldn't be anybody. And start glimpsing outside, keeping an eye on moving shadows slinking from one to the next, or looking for errant reflective eyes. It's one of the few things that Lyric has positively beat into me, because while the kindred's eyes don't work the same way as mortals, when they're using their ability to pierce the dark, there's this almost reflective aspect to it, just above what you would see if you shine a light into a cat's eyes, no matter what visible light is there. So that's what I'm looking for. Little pinpricks of nothing that are easy to ignore, but you shouldn't, because that typically means that there's a kindred standing there in the shadow, piercing through the darkness with their vision. Not just her, but outside the vehicle. Making sure that we are as alone as possible.
Well, if you would like to make a roll, are you using a power?
Yes, the power of deduction, wits, and awareness.
Alright. Go ahead. Roll your wisdom awareness.
All right, here we go. Let's see what does fate have in store for us today. Roll wits plus awareness, current, standard DC or no DC.
Standard. But you do not seems out of the ordinary. See anybody paying any undue attention.
We're probably gonna have to switch to your place after this. You got better security, more people on the street. Makes it easier to note if anybody's watching you with a little more than the usual scrupulousness. Definitely that.
And not for nothing, but it was right outside this very place where you discovered an envelope for pennies worth.
Yeah, it's a quiet neighborhood. Maybe we should have talked about that. Like, you don't want to bring loud vehicles this way. People see everything, but they witness nothing. You brought the cardi over here during the prime time hours. There's a power force on during that time. People are sitting in front of their screens, and every little noise disturbs you. That's why everybody watches Netflix with the captions on. City so interestingly loud and quiet at various moments. Let's get inside and get the rest of the Scooby gang so we can go to this meet and get our teeth kicked in. Yeah, speaking of which, as they're heading through the door, so not to pry. You know, I have a problem prying and being nosy, but how much are you getting in regards to this? I might have to up my own what I'm demanding in payment, because you know that's what it's gonna come down to. I'm gonna have to demand payment because this has been more than just repaying a debt. Like we're out considerable. Hey guys, everybody, are you ready to go?
Jacob has left to attend to other business. He snuck out even when nearing. Okay, should the door closed or something. Morgan mumbles some excuse for him. He had some family obligation he had to attend to. Morgan will look up and enter and go back to the laptop.
I see. You're doing it for the culture. Good for you. Good for you. Doing it for the culture. That's a very nice thing. I'm sure that that's going to look great on our tombstones. Though you might have been, you know, dead long enough to be ash, right? Like when you go, you're going to go. Like there's not going to be anything left. Yeah, I always wanted to. Yeah, I always want to go in a way that leaves something for my my folks to bury. We don't really believe in the whole cremation sort of thing. Though What about you, Lyric? You got a little age on me. What about you? When you go, how do you see that happening?
Lyric, I already watched the game and watched it back or but that we are worried about and like this is an outcome. I mean, yeah, I'm going to fight. What? Yeah, I don't know how I would get out like that. Excited and going for a phone call. Yeah. It's been quiet, yeah. Really.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. Morgan, you learn anything of use, or you want to spend time here in this hive of scum and villainy by yourself again?
I think we got one of them figured out, and then I'm working on this other one. I know. Where are we going?
Through a trap. Yeah, I was hoping no one would suggest that. Yeah, I was hoping no one would say that.
I don't want to go to a trap.
Again, I was hoping no one would say that.
You said
It didn't mean that I didn't hope that I didn't say it. I said I hope no one would say it. I'm someone, so clearly I was part of that no one needing to say it, but, you know, thoughts have a mind of their own sometimes. So here's the thing. We need to get you someplace that's not potentially exposed. Not for nothing. I'm not saying that I don't trust Jacob, but I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember back in like kindergarten, and the kid that everybody wanted to like was really the teacher snitch, without meaning to, of course. Like incidentally let things slip that the teacher responds to. That's kind of the feeling that I have about the entirety of the Warlocks. They kind of incidentally screw everybody else over while they're trying to screw each other over. And
like from Warcraft.
okay, all right. Well, I never really played Warcraft. I played Evercrack, but I get where you're going with that. And yes, not very far from that. Though probably in his case with considerable less DPS than you would expect. More probably in his case, a very low area of effect. But anyway, we'll get to the details of Latin and how we can translate from Evercrack to World of Warcraft. But just a little bit about me. I learned how to forge things. If my life had continued on the way that it was going, I'd probably be a very non-elite hacker. However, my first thing that I cracked was a copy of Evercrack. To give you a clue. Before WoW, there was Evercrack, which was the WoW of its time. And you would have to pay, even years removed from this prime time, for the updates and the access. I cracked it because we didn't have the money, and I wasn't gonna go bug my nana for more money. So I cracked it. That was the first thing that I did. That was the first forgery. That was the first fake of anything that I actually managed that was actually any good. I was 6. It was an old game. But all that aside, yes, warlock like that, but that's just who, the type of dead thing he is. And they're shady fucking bastards. And some of them don't really mean to be. But one thing that my sire got right, they will always let you down. She didn't say it specifically about them. Alright, who am I kidding? She's a kindred of her time. She very much said that and considerably worse about them. I'm just trying to make her seem nicer for some strange reason. So, I'd like to get you someplace a little safer, a little more removed, a little easier for you not to have to go ham and tap into that monster in your chest to kick someone else's ass online.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have a suggestion for such, or are we going to go check into a place not too far from here?
Invitation said we had limited time, and we were expected by
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Hotel 57's on the way. How do you feel about that? You want a nice hotel room when you can get a bubble bath, hot water, and have a lovely view of East 57th, or you want the smelly post-con dark environment of the internet cafe?
Do they have Wi-Fi?
Hotel 57? Yeah, it's one of the many things that they offer. Plus, you know, Palace is on the same block. And if you really are feeling so inclined, what's that? 2 blocks over, a block over there on 58th, there's the Chick-fil-A, right? Larry?
they probably still open something.
True enough. But then, you know, if you feeling that way, there's also drive-by the other way down 56th. So Wi-Fi, hot shower, jacuzzi, those little jets in the tub for the massage thing.
Pretty chill.
Excellent. You get a nice view of East 57. 57 is not a bad place. There's always something happening. You're just off a park. And it's on the way. In, out, on our way.
Okay.
Right?
Closes the laptop, slides it into her backpack, gathers up her papers and scribbles and composition books, puts them in there as well.
There is so all these things we have they like she's talking about the paperwork they got from the Ross, any other they might manage to grab so that if the work happens, somebody brings it in place immediately.
There's several safes. 2 of them are fireproof. You want easy to get to, or you want hard to find?
But
I was hoping you... No, sit it on the table. I'm gonna need you, you 2 on one end and me on this one over here. And he points to the end of the table where he wants both of them to help by lifting. Wait, not yet. And he rummages in his pocket, takes out what looks like a quarter and holds it in his palm and touches the underside of the table, which is actually the magnetic release for the table to slide forward. Now you can move the table without this, but you won't get into the safe. And he takes the same quarter looking object and places his hand against the back left leg where it's set in the floor. You can see the scuff marks from it sliding back and forth, pretty much like you would if someone moves things often enough. And there's a hissing click, and then he can lift the little trap door to the safe that's sitting right underneath their feet. There are roughly 176 different identities in verifiable passports, birth certificates, social security numbers, cards, resident alien cards, and various other proofs of identity inside.
Alright, paperwork is stashed in the safe. Are we moving towards the hotel at that point?
Yes.
Alright, so checking into the hotel is an easy enough task. Again, we don't need to do the shopping episode version of that. You are able to secure Morgan in a room, a rather nondescript run-of-the-mill room, I assume. We're not renting her a penthouse or anything.
No, but we're setting up nice. Not ostentatiously nice, just nice. A nice little getaway, a little vacation. She could probably use it.
So she finds a corner to nestle in, begins to take all her stuff back out, plugs the laptop in, types furiously into the free Wi-Fi, and is pretty much lost in the glow of the computer screen. Apparently, as is notable for working food where we know she is quite absorbed in this puzzle to solve. So, Morgan's cured. Go ahead.
Back. We're back.
Morgan's cured. You head back out into the street and into the stolen van. You have a small amount of time before you need to be where you were supposed to go. However you want to get there, I'm sure you definitely want to check out the scene before you go busting through the door.
Oh, yeah! As we Kool-Aid man our way into the scene 17 minutes late. But yeah, we should probably do some reconnoitering. As we get to the car?
These games.
Yes. As we get to the car, you were saying, Rick.
I think we don't. So you question that.
This is true.
Ability to get ourselves out of this hole. That's
whenever we ever actually planned. We do a lot of improvisation, even with the bare bones of a plan, which are usually roughly about actually a notion. I think we reconnoiter to the best of our abilities and actually make a plan. Because if I'm even remotely right, this will be us being held accountable for one or more things that have happened in the last several days. And there's quite a few things that could result in less than positive outcomes. One, the most glaring of which is our failure to provide, which in essence means your services are free. The debt that I'm working off is unpaid, and whatever it is that Jacob was supposed to get for his stepfather, he didn't get. The debt alone in our society is enough to have someone else, if not off permanently, at least temporarily, give them the big sleep. You not being paid is effectively theft of your services, your time, which, despite however much we have ahead of us, you can never get back. And Rick, while there's never any way I could ever repay your friendship, putting you in a situation where it all comes to an end is never my intentions. But if it is going to be in it, I'd much rather be it with someone that I actually enjoy spending time with. And with all of that being said, if you'd like to get out of it, no one knows you're actually involved except for the guy who hired us. Yes, I is keeping us from being hunted. Yeah, your troublemaking friend, myself, pulled you into something that you shouldn't have been involved with. You have an out. It's not the easiest of outs because you kind of gotta admit that you failed a little bit, but you lived that down eventually. She already considers you a full-grown kindred, someone of equal considerations in plotting their way forward in the world. So you have a respect. You have a help. Getting clear to this, it's just more of the same. And all of my jest aside, Benny, your reputation really ain't worth you going down over this. You really ain't gotta do that. After all of your service during the big war, I'm sure people would take a little bit of lenience on you. After all, you did fight for the good guys, right? And as long as you wasn't, a side jumper, that reputation and your standing would take a small hit, nothing big, and you'd be on your way. They'd probably make you work in Jersey for a while, but I'm sure you can live it down. Thank God. I really didn't want to fucking do that. That'd be fucking horrible. Oh.
So the address itself turns out to be the bottom floor of a 8-story building. It looks like it was a storefront at one time. Currently, the windows are covered with cardboard. There is a sign hanging in one of them that says "Coming Soon," but does not really have any other details. It does appear from Tangled, if you approach it from the street, that the whatever it is takes up the entire floor. As far as what you can see on the street, you don't see any security forces or velvet ropes. Anyone lingering suspiciously. You are in a nice enough part of town, though on the fringes of going from a not nice enough part of town, that there aren't a lot of homeless people sleeping out front or anything. Sort of place where the police come along often enough and move ne'er-do-wells along.
So we're on the south east side of Columbus Circle. We're not far from the Lens Crafters right there on the corner, just on the other side of Broadway. Are we on the 59th Street side or the 58th Street side? Closer to the park or farther away from the park?
You are in Chelsea, so I'm not sure. Looks like that's a good ways away from Columbus Circle. Or at least many blocks.
Yeah.
You are not terribly far from the waterfront. That helps. I know you might use the map to know exactly where you are, but I just don't have the patience for that.
No worries. Yeah. First things first. Nah, we don't drive that much. You know that people are going to be watching where we go. Someone's going to be picking us up from the moment we get completely on the block. Park a half a block over. We'll walk in different directions and circle the block and meet back here. Each of us give it a couple of passes. No offense, but Penny, you should probably take the back. I've seen you move. You're fast. And if shit hits the fan, you won't have to leave a slew of bodies behind. You can literally just run and meet back here at the van. We'll stay on the street opposite directions so that we can encompass the entirety of the block, and then we'll meet back at the van. We'll share our information and make a plan as to how we're going to do this. They clearly have money, they clearly have connections, and they are clearly hoping that we're smart enough not to do anything too big or not loud so that they can keep control. Unless anybody got another better plan.
That would be a big ask. There's a lot going on in Manhattan to pinpoint one business, but you never know. So I'd like to give me 2 successes, but like I said, there is a lot going on in Manhattan, so this particular project you know nothing about.
Alright.
Other than you know that there are some venture interests and a rather prominent toreador that call Chelsea their playground, so not necessarily their domain, but they do have interest here.
Yeah, let's do this.
Alright, so having encased the building and encased the joint, as it were, see anything that seems untoward, you approach the building as a group. Alright, so as you get within, say, 15 feet of where the main door is, there's a guy. You didn't see him before, but he's there now. He is wearing a suit and a tie. To make you roll, there is clearly the way he shifts his weight as he steps out into view. There is a bulge in his jacket, which indicates that he's probably armed. He inclines his head respectfully to all of you, but doesn't say anything.
Good evening, Dad. Respond to the invitation.
He nods at you again. He turns around and unlocks the door and pushes it open for you. He says just to the left down the steps, thick Brooklyn accent.
Follow the direction.
As you enter the building itself, the room is extremely dimly lit, coupled by the fact that the cardboard is covering the windows, letting very little, almost no light stream in. There are several, looks like tables and booths and whatnot that are covered by tarps. There is a counter. Clearly this was some sort of gathering place, perhaps a restaurant at one point. And as true to his word, to the left, there is a doorway where the door has been removed and there are stairs leading down.
This ain't too auspicious.
Alright, if you would like to give me a wits and awareness for that. Just as high as you can. I'll give you information accordingly or not accordingly.
Just with the awareness, not adding in aspect.
Yeah, you might draw spells with that. Alright, well that is quite a lot of successes. Don't hear any conversation or footsteps or anything like that. What sticks out to you the most, which almost no one else would be able to hear without the supernatural abilities that you possess, is some light breathing. Seems to be the closest thing to you. And whisper of something scraping. Not really sure what it is. It's very odd sounds, but you do hear it.
Just walk off.
That's fair. So you walk down a very dimly lit staircase. To the bottom, you see another man, dressed similarly to the man outside, though not wearing the exact same suits. It's not like they're some sort of goofball uniforms. He is standing in front of a heavy security door. As you approach, he nods to all of you and turns to open the door. Alright, you stride in. There is a short hallway, 10 feet or so, that turns to the right. You don't see any other options. Doorways, other halls. Assume, follow the hallway, make the right turn. You step into a room, again, that is dimly lit. The first thing you all notice is a woman you have seen before. It takes your brain a moment to place it, because the last time you saw her, she was messy and frightened. She had a light in her eyes, it's no longer there. Also notable is she had a throat last time you saw her. She also wasn't nailed to a wall.
Yeah.
In wood, there is the smell of blood, though muted, because it seems like a lot of the blood that should be here is not. There is a little bit of viscera. There's also insects burning in the room. And to the corner, you see a man in an apron. One of those rubber aprons, wearing rubber gloves. He seems to be sharpening some sort of large cutting implement.
Lowering my voice just enough to lean into Rick as I shoulder bump her. You know the first thing to do is take his eyes, right?
I think it's quite with the
And that's no way to engender brand loyalty amongst your employees.
Man looks up at all of you with a sort of sideways, malicious grin. It's not like he's actually has malice towards you. It's like that's just kind of his default grin. He kind of gestures vaguely to another doorway at the other end of the room, to the left, where the grizzly display is on the wall. Goes back to a little makeshift workbench that he's set up and starts looking at different implements.
Yeah. Shall we get this show on the road, ladies?
Rick is career at Tangled. Watching them back
assume is blood. It's definitely the right color. There are some more cutting implements laying what little bit of leftover blood there is on the ground underneath her. You hear a steady drip from her fingertip into the small pool. Yeah, so you move to the door. It is an excellent room, other than the fact that there's a dead woman hanging on the wall in it. You'll definitely lower the rent. Anyhow, through the door you go, into what appears to be a small office. There is a door on the far end of the room. There is a desk between you and that door. There are, a rather plain desk is a good size. There's a high back chair on the far end of it. There are a trio, actually a quad of chairs sitting in front of it, which are kind of put you in the mind of something you might get at Target.
Let's move through the door. There's really not much to do here, and I'm not waiting. If they're not there, we'll turn around and we'll leave. We came, we showed up, we did our part. Gum?
As you step towards the door, after your small conversation, the door itself opens. Another gentleman in a suit steps through, looks at all of you, and steps out of the way. And a woman steps through. Ashen, she has dark skin. Doesn't really regard all of you. She sits in the chair, kind of spins it away from you all, steepling her fingers. The man shuts the door behind himself and stays in the corner. Those of you who are connected, not the avoid solutions like the plague, can roll an intelligence in politics. The lyric can roll as well if she wishes. Oh, he can just be hired.
Yeah, me neither.
Fair enough. So you both have successes. You are not entirely sure who this is. You're both reasonably sure that it isn't a veteran who have seen around, but as far as their name, they seem to be, at least in your circles, enough of a mover and shaker for you to actually know much about them.
Well, there's nobody like us.
She sits there for a moment. The high back chair facing your back, the high back chair facing you guys. Do you sit? Do you stand? Make a break for it.
Take the packet of gum and stride closer, hanging it over whoever this is their right shoulder with my right hand. You want a stick of gum?
The man in the corner moves forward with purpose, but she waves her hand at him. Basically, very quietly says no. Thank you.
Easy, buddy. No matter what MacGyver taught you, there's not much you can do with gum. You sure? It's my favorite kind, cinnamon.
No, just please with the season.
We sat on the ride over. You mind if I, like, give you your space and just hang out back here? Excellent. You want to come over to my place? We can sit down and I put something on in the background. A nice movie. Have you ever seen Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead? It's a underrated gym. It's got Andy Garcia. That's the only real reason I watch it. Oh, the guy from Back to the Future. And Treat Williams, The Substitute 2. Great actor.
She sighs and said, if you'd be seated, Mr. Michelle.
Well, you have us at a bit of a disadvantage. May we have your own name?
She spins the chair slowly, steeples her fingers in front of herself on the desk, and says, I'm Carolyn Birch. Is there anything you'd like to tell me?
I like your personal decor. I'm not exactly really a fan of all the gore. That's a little unsettling, and this is coming from someone whose family practices a mixture of voodoo and Santeria. It's a bit much. Even during my growing up days, I was never a fan of all of the blood, though the blood is sacred, as you know. It's just, I had too much. And as a friend, I think we should at least be able to say that to each other.
Yes, that was an interesting case. She also didn't have anything to tell me. Well, not at first.
You know, that's the funny thing is, torture only gets you answers to questions you've never asked. While it breaks everybody, individuals such as ourselves who are already dead, it hurts. But there's no reason for us to tell you anything. We don't even know what it is that you want to know. So we're going to tell you, if we're weak of mind, everything that we can. And none of it will be true, and all of it will be true. And it'll take far longer than you want to invest in manpower and labor to find out what's true, what actually has merit, and what doesn't. So, how about we negotiate? We talk one to another and figure out what it is that you want and what we can get from it so that we can give you everything that you deserve.
Well, conversation was my intention. However, I thought I would give you the chance to uncover yourselves some truths before we began whatever negotiation.
Well, what is it that you want? Because we have had a dickens of a time. I tell you, the inanity of the world around us to the one in which we live is quite tiring. I find myself often swooning from just the efforts of keeping up with things. I know I don't look like a swooner, but I am.
Please think.
I prefer to stand, but beings you asked so nicely. You did ask, please. I'll do my best.
Sitting and ripping, and Penny is sitting like she owns the place.
Originally, towards him, but then once the lady back, sitting on the edge of the chair so that she can get up. She's been watching this woman trying to figure out where she knows her, where she's that she's ever heard of that name before. Honestly,
Well, that's the problem. Probably your beast in yourself, or rather, you don't know who she is, what she's capable of, and you're not entirely sure what she wants. The display outside them set the tone. I'm sure most of you feel like maybe that was engineered that way.
Most assuredly.
instead of getting cramped up and going, that is a little bit so. Said any words. How do we know what's third, not a third? I'm not going to tell you a story.
Well, that might be interesting for some of us.
It's not for me to tell you what burdens you and what doesn't.
That's like that. What burden be like that?
Well, you don't. Give you an opportunity to share, which may color the tone of the rest of this conversation.
You know, I always wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle. It always pains me. Like when I think about being a modern, upperly mobile kindred, the image of sitting astride this monstrous beast that's just vibrating all around you, making the world quieter by its own power. It just cuts this mental image in my head that I just can't shake. It's the coolest thing ever. Now, mind you, I grew up riding the RTA, and it was just like, it's different. I see, therein lies the whole thing. There's pride keeping me from unburdening myself, because I have a sense of self that doesn't really have dreams and aspirations. Because pride, they say, goes before a fall, but it also is the reason why you reach high enough for that fall to height. So, removing our pride out of the way, what is it that you're hoping we might have run across, come into play with? We know the little security secretary wall art you have out there. We've seen her a time or two, and the fact that you have her here instead of where she was formerly employed sets the tone. So what is it that you actually would like to know, or like for us to potentially speak on? Because our pride is a wall between us, just like your pride is a wall between us getting to the core issue here.
I'm sure your humor serves you well, and
Wasn't
I have time or patience.
wasn't human. It's the truth. Your pride's in the way of us getting to the bottom of this, and our pride's in the way of us actually having an idea what's actually a burden and what's just another normal Tuesday. So what is it that you want?
What are your dealings with Edwards?
Poor, unsatisfactory, a real pain in the ass. What's your dealings with Edwards?
My dealings are my own.
See, the pride. You already got the upper hand. We came at your beck and call. This is your show. It goes the way that you decide. What would you like us to impart to you, or look for you, or find for you, or do for you? Because otherwise, if you didn't have a use for us, we'd be dead already, right? You would have found us on our way and made sure we disappeared. No muss, no fuss, just like you did her. What do you want?
All the attempts at charm and circular speaking aside, my dealings with Edwards do not usually involve a man throwing himself off a building.
do you have the same relationship with Edwards that the man who threw himself off the building does? You might be speaking to a peer, a superior, a partner and fellow enthusiast of whatever hobby you have going. The gentleman who threw himself off the building did so as a sign of his own personal fear and an act of a final act of defiance.
You don't find that rather convenient that you show up and a man just throws himself off the building?
I once had a girl throw herself in front of a cab to avoid from giving me her number. No, it's not strange. These things happen.
Do they? What relationship do you believe Miss Edwards and Mr. Wentworth had?
Sexual. Unrequited. Disparate.
Did he pay you to kill him?
Look, if I killed someone, it'd be a bigger mess than that. I'm a fucking amateur when it comes to doing shit like that. I'd ruin your credit. I maybe, get a couple of subscriptions in your name and have them delivered all around the country. But as far as actually killing another kindred, it's not in my wheelhouse. It's not in any of our wheelhouse, unless, of course, pushed to that point. And 100% self-defense. We had the numbers on our side, and surprise, we weren't going to kill anybody. There was nothing that we stood to gain from that. In fact, we're out of... How much was the cab fare down there? Matt, Rick, you keep track of that in your head. Penny, you know the gas mileage. How much were we out? Just in getting everybody together and getting down there and then away. That's like 2 fares, right? Oh yeah, that's 5 times 20. That's 20. That's 100, and then 10% for tip. So that's $220 that we were out just getting there, and we got nothing to show for it.
Assuming that most of you are paying the utmost attention to Miss Birch, her face has been a completely stoic mask. But as you mentioned, Mr. Wentworth, there is just the faintest, almost imperceptible hint of a smirk. She says, "Oh, you believed him to be kindred?"
Well, being completely solipsistic on my part, I think everybody's fucking kindred till they prove otherwise.
One would think that would go the other way. There are so few of us among the sheep.
Come on, it's not only New York, but it's Manhattan. This is the center of the universe. Who wouldn't want to be here?
So you went and asked Mr. Edwards to throw a kindred off a building. That's very complicated for you.
Especially being as you're just confusing details because you want to. You think that's going to force us into something. Look, Edwards wanted us to retrieve something from his child. He used very careful parlance in painting the image that Chaz, Sonny and Cher's child, was a kindred. We never got close enough to verify that one way or the other, and didn't really care once he took the nosedive of his own free volition. Now you're gonna try to paint it like we went up there and we did some things, but we didn't. And there's more of us who actually saw what happened and would submit to the scrutiny of a Tremere Vizier or whatever they call themselves these days to prove that we didn't.
Would you? That could be arranged.
Not by you. Your guys are your guys. They're gonna do what you tell them to do. So even if the information says otherwise, they can say, "Oh no, I'm not guilty. Let's take this before the prince, the primogen." Hell, I got a representative on the Primogen Council. Let's take it before my Primogen and put the case before. Exactly, when they could be bought. No one likes me enough to actually give me preferential treatment. So at least I know that it's going to be fair on my side, as long as it's not your guys doing the testing.
And you feel where there is the death of a kindred, you're going to get a free a fair trial campaign.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially being as I have never done anything except for be a good upstanding member of the tower. What about you? Sneaking around, engaging in a skullduggery, clearly after something. Whereas me, Penny, we're just humble businessmen living, existing night to night. We got no big plans. Never have. And especially with Penny's upstanding sire as a metric to compare herself against, we're clearly the good guys here.
Well, I find it interesting that you feel that you be feeling that operations in a fair and impartial manner no demons in the tower whatsoever.
And that's where you're wrong. I got no big goals. I got no big plans. I'm easy. I stay firmly in the middle. I do what as asked, when asked politely and nicely, and when I rebel, it's in ways that are laughable, costing no one anything. And I'm guessing from your show here and your attempts at intimidation that you have aims, you have goals, you have this big overarching thing that you're striving towards that probably our former employer, Mr. Edwards, is counter to. No, this is really between you two. And you're trying to make sure that his tools, i.e. us, the fools, the patsy that got involved in this because of other matters, take the rap for whatever it is that you two are fighting over. We don't want to do that.
So that's what you are, fools and patsies, hired to throw a man off the building.
See, there's that assertion again. You are intent on putting their death on us. And if it's a man, it doesn't concern the tower at all, considering that's a death of natural causes. He threw himself over the edge, and quite naturally, he ceased to be.
Fighting with people height is no natural causes.
Sure it is. Gravity is a natural phenomena, isn't it? We already told you no.
What was your relationship with Chad?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I was on trial.
We're not either.
Perhaps that you've been more forthcoming.
Madam, as you consider some possibility instead, I urge you to contend for her. Her.
I'm thinking she is. No. We're asking, did you know the guy who threw himself off a building at the mere mention of Mr. Edwards?
You understand how unlikely it is, how suspicious it is that you show up at a person's residence and they just happen to, as you enter, throw themselves off the building.
Person who was expecting us. We didn't even know we were expected. Person who planned this to make a big show of something. This is clearly your attempt at embarrassing Mr. Edwards. How about we leave you to it? You embarrass him, he embarrasses you. Everybody comes out ahead when both of you guys take each other out. We don't need to be your collateral damage in this. You were asked several times, what is it that you want? You were told the truth several hundred times, several different ways. And you still don't have what you want, because what you want is leverage over us. You don't need leverage. What would you like? What do you want?
I would like answers
We gave them to you.
Please provide human answers.
I would like truthful answers.
You got them.
The time was wrong.
If it was leverage, I think we would have all been crushed in your sleep.
You gotta go sometimes. I prefer not to go crushed because, I want to leave a corpse so that people that actually care about me, I'm sure you don't know this feeling, but give them something to mourn over, give them a place to say their final goodbyes. You wouldn't get that. You've been twisted. You got something in your gut that you really need to probably come to Jesus about. We didn't do what you're trying to say that we did. We told you we didn't. You don't believe us. There's no convincing you, and that's fine. You are entitled to your opinion, as wrong as it actually is. We're still trying to reach out more than just the olive branch to you. And we still are offering to assist you within the bound of our honor so that we can find the middle ground here. I asked you what you wanted 3 times. You still didn't say. You say things that you've already gotten. So you want what you have, but you want to deny it. And that's fine. But if this is what we're going to do, no, it's only 7, 8 hours to sunrise. I prefer if we did it over a drink. You got anything not fresh but still red? I'd prefer not drinking the secretary. She clearly had a bad life, and that leaves bad feelings, and there's a little ephemeral essence you get from how you up from the blood that you drink. Like, I like people that did things. They had lives. She clearly didn't.
She just regards you coldly.
Got there, we were expected and we weren't expected. So we probably went upstairs, met there for the first time, and we were told to find out something. Otherwise, that felt talk about and saying what you told. And that was it. Right? This is the problem. We don't want to have much of it and we left. That's it. That's exactly what it found out later. There were other things. Again, nobody understands what
And if I ask you something to corroborate the story,
What could there possibly be that will corroborate that story? You have 3 people telling you 3 different perceptions on exactly what happened, and it's still not enough for you.
exactly nothing to corroborate the story, and why would someone who was guilty claim that they were not?
Because there are ways to verify it in our blood. There's ways to verify it in our mind. And there are ways...
That can be bought, as you've already stated.
Yeah,
Submit to a test that you don't trust.
yeah.
It doesn't come out the way that you used to say that it is lying. So how do you corroborate yourself?
Let's go talk to the Primogen. Let's make this a capital crime sort of situation. Let's handle this above board. Because if the person that threw themselves over the balcony was human, it's of no concern to anyone. It's a destruction of property. We happen to be in the vicinity of someone's toy that broke themselves. And while that is no onus on us, and there's nothing that we gained or lost, we'd be willing to make a trade for the approximate value of having wasted our fucking time.
She chuckles at that. And, as an aside, you do have some video.
Yes. Not gonna put that out there at all. In fact, video. What video? There's no video. It doesn't exist. Especially beings that could be damning or rescuing. We need to figure out how to use it first.
And this is the time she says, and what's up with the video you stole? And at that point, it was 10:45. I take a short break.
Indeedy do. So, part of the elephant is being addressed. Stella just trying to figure out whether it's tail or his trunk. What are you hoping to get? It's clear that you either have sources or persons, or you're the one that had everybody expecting us. What is it that you actually want? You keep saying nothing. We'd like you to say something at this portion of our conversation.
I'd like answers. I'd like to know exactly what has occurred.
And we told you.
Given me a version that's been concocted. Like I said, what motive do the guilty have to proclaim innocence?
Well, not guilty. We don't even know that. We didn't even know that he wasn't kindred. If we got close enough to put our hands on him, you think we wouldn't be able to tell the difference between dead flesh and non-dead flesh? And as you already knew that he was not dead flesh, we're not the guilty ones here. You are. And you got to play cleanup, because we're all witness to that fact that you had a hand in whatever that strange, weird, fucked situation we walked into. So again, what is it that you want? We gave you the truth. That's not good enough. We gave you our offer of assistance. That's not good enough. So what is it that you really want?
I'm curious, in your fascinating mind, exactly how am I to blame? Was I in the apartment?
Just because you concocted an alibi before in advance of this moment doesn't mean that you were not responsible. So again, second time with these facts on the table between us, what is it that you actually want? We haven't said no. Just because we haven't said yes doesn't mean anything. We haven't said no. So this is 0.5, mind you. What is it that you really want?
Answers.
Yeah, that's not an answer. That's a response, because you already got answers. You say they're not good enough, even though they're the truth. So you're trying to belabor a point to put us into a position where our only option is to agree to whatever you want. And that's not going to happen because, point of fact, we're actually innocent.
I'm sitting in this chair listening to you talk in circles, and the answer that I'm currently seeking is of the video. Should I write it down for you so you can reference it as you speak and spew your bullshit into the air?
Yes.
She snaps her fingers, and the man comes forward and writes it down and slides it on a piece of paper to you. Now that you have something to focus on other than your own ego, would you like to answer the fucking question?
Yes. What video? We live in New York. There's roughly 7,000 copies of bootleg videos made every day.
The video that you clumsily stole from a building, turning the investigation into something much larger than it needed to be. Branding the masquerade, I might add.
Ow. That doesn't threaten the masquerade, unless of course there was something that revealed the presence of kindred to those who didn't know they existed. Your people were there on site. You are kindred. You would be the breach of masquerade, not us. Clumsy or not.
I'm innocent of the crime. My hands are not on this. So, you are either going to answer the question, or if you'd like to involve the primogen, I can call my child and bring him over.
Your child. No.
Yes, the current Ventro primogen is my child. If you want to involve him, I would be happy to. I can call an Archon as well. There is one in Brooklyn at the moment. Would you like me to do that?
Maybe.
Or would you like to stop the bullshit and stop catering to your own ego and leave here alive?
It's a little late for that live part. And I'm not ventral. Your primogen doesn't really mean all that much except for fellow respect. My primogen,
Archons.
they're over everybody, including the prince. That's what I know. So kick.
So if I was to call in a favor and have you to murder you with this broom so they don't have to rattle on anymore, that would be alright, wouldn't it?
Yes, because that's a costly favor you'd waste on us, letting us know that at least we died for a reason. You're adding value to our existence.
You're making it worth it. Now answer the fucking question. And clearly she is about to make some phone calls.
Right. What would an Nosferatu affect like? And have the power of this life.
Well, I see we have been so forthcoming up to this point. What Nosferatu?
Definitely.
You saw an image? I thought they were invisible.
Anything else?
Standing up. Not a game.
time to take you at face value. Had some dealings with Edwards that led you to Mr. Wentworth's, where you did not kill him, he killed himself. Probably not. And then you went to the livery service and found the Nosferatu that may or may not be the one that you have on video.
But he seems to know that the
Fair enough. So, I'm sure you have questions to answer a few. It is. Is that all? You must want to know other things.
It's like to raise it delicately.
I think we're past delicate.
Fair enough.
Perhaps using your problem.
Yes, I'm aware of it. He does some odd jobs for me from time to time. He is being sought.
I imagine you not too happy with the
I couldn't tell you.
clearly there is animosity between Mr. Edwards. And
One
there
could
is
say
no
that.
fact to do with
Mr. Wentworth? I was grooming him. He was to be my child.
Edward said that
I've been grooming him for some time. He had a keen financial mind. It's a shame that it's splattered all over.
don't you think that perhaps Edward wasn't stolen from God, get up right place?
Perhaps. Though, she considers for a moment, turns her eyes towards Spin briefly, and says, since I have to understand some debts were owed, some debts were paid, this and debit.
I would too. There. Respectfully there. That's Mr.
That was not really.
Has it lived up to your expectations?
More than that. Better than having the kick up. Far more dangerous.
For my part, I would like a copy of the video to corroborate what you're telling me, which I will take on face value for now. I will also pull the tail and surveillance off of you, replace the stain. For the last couple nights, do with it as you wish. You have my word that no one will know of its existence. I will see to it. Go ahead.
haven't moved. Still exactly right where I was.
Been very disappointing. Look,
101 things. None of them apply to right now.
Looks at Phoenix.
You done abusing your power on us? Can we go?
Power is meant to be abused.
Yeah. Luckily, their lives matter more than mine. Are you done?
I suppose. And by your tone, I will assume that I do not need to offer you the minor favor that I offer others. On corroboration of the story, of course.
You do what you think is right. What you think is fair and equitable.
She nods and stands. The man pulls the door open as she does so. She stops at the door and looks back at you and says, he should be mostly cleaned up out there now. You don't mind going out the way that you entered. Bid you all a good evening. She nods, finds her head and the terse little smile, steps out of the room. The man pulls the door shut behind them. And as the room is quiet, you hear it latch and lock. All right. As she promised, the woman is still hanging from the wall, but the mess has been cleaned up. He is literally hosing the body off at the moment. He gives you all a nod and a grin. He's a man who enjoys his work, clearly. And goes back to work as you move through. The two gentlemen you passed on the way in hold the doors open for you. Nod and quietly wish you a good evening as well. You are unmolested and are able to return to your vehicle. You find the vehicle has not been touched. Are able to climb in and start it up. Where would you like to go? Is there any conversation being had?
There's still a couple hours left.
like literally jumping up and down and up their head. And yeah.
Right? You guys are in for an amazing car ride back.
There's,
That was
there's no better part of valor. And as much as you all took my silence as a petulant act, it achieved the goal. We got to some of at least her perception of the truth. And while, yeah, it's without a shadow of a doubt, there were some other issues at play. The whole point was to get them to actually communicate with us, no matter what that took. And as you all, I'm sure, are aware, I don't fucking lie. I'll play with the truth. I'll present a different perception on it. And everything I said was true. And everything I say is actually true. More or less. So we got some of the truth. We need the rest of it.
yeah. But you're human. Like, good cop annoying.
At least somebody listens. My silence was far more unnerving afterwards than all of the conversation in advance.
Yeah.
Morgan. I've been laboring under the idea that Morgan might have been connected to this in the most superfluous, tertiary of ways. And based on what Carolyn Birch related to us, it seems as if she is unfortunately unconnected with any of this. And yet, Contaline Birch has resources elsewhere that she was using to keep track of us. So, does anyone know what Jacob did with the laptop? Because there's a very good chance that there's tracking information that she has access to in that laptop.
Morgan has it.
There's only one seatbelt on this side. Do you have another one that we can affix or attach?
All right. So you drive back to the hotel. I assume that you all get out in the beeline for the room where you guys left Morgan.
Absolutely.
Enter the room. You see Morgan sitting on the bed, a bathrobe, laptop in her lap. She has kind of a shock and panic look on her face. Looks up at all of you and says, "Oh my gosh, I have to text you."
About?
She waves you over and spins the laptop around in her lap. On the screen, she has that game open. A game that her and Jacob have been poring over, the ciphers. As you look around, you don't see anything out of the ordinary until your eyes drift over the chat log, where there is a new message that is dated about 3 minutes ago. That is in a DM, which probably none of you would recognize it, since it's just a different color text. And it says, "Hey bro, I still have your package. What do you want me to do with it?" And that's where we will stop this evening.
The plot.
So, had a good time there, despite Carolyn Birch losing her cool and getting all quiet.
Quiet.
Just a couple of music samples.
You met New York City's few elders.
Did we survive?
Yeah, did we though? She's an elder. She could be playing with our mind. We could still be sitting there in the chair talking to her. This is all some fever dream that she foisted onto us.
But at least you have solved the initial story arc, so I assume we want to continue.
Oh, who goes there?
I am not.
Let's write it out.
Alright, you have your next scene to follow or not follow. There are plenty of things going on, plenty of things afoot, so explore them.
Excellent. Welcome, Joji. What's going on? Oh, well, quick question. Hang on.